Really? You're ahead of me. Good evening, everybody. For the record, it's Thursday, March 28th, 2019. Time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. I've called the meeting to order. The first item, as always, is the pledge to our flag. Councilmember Esparza, would you lead us? Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Esparza. And for the record, we have 5 council members here this evening. Council members Bailey and Poyer are on vacation. A little quick early spring break for the two of them. Our consent items this evening include the agenda, vouchers, and minutes from the previous meeting. So I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes from previous meetings.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Esparza to approve the consent items, including the agenda, vouchers, and minutes from the previous meetings. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda would be citizen comment. This would be a time if any member of the audience would like to address the council. We'd give you 3 minutes. Ask for your name and address for the record. Anybody interested in addressing the council at this time? I was told some people were going to address the council, so I was sort of
Hello.
waiting. Aye.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record.
My name is Carrie Gavin. I live on 1120 Cherry Street, Wenatchee.
Oh, Pat Litchfield.
All right, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you that the city of Wenatchee, is going to continue to sponsor and support the YWCA in their Stand Against Racism event this April. That's something that the Diversity Council always sponsored for the years, and we found out that you're going to continue to do that, so we appreciate it. Our last meeting that we held was in January, and we presented to you, we wrote a letter. You should have already received it, but we are going to read it into the record tonight. So, dear Wenatchee City Council and Mayor Frank Kuntz, this letter is in response to your request for an update on the status of the Wenatchee Advisory Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The Advisory Council met most recently on Wednesday, January 9, 2019. We have attempted to validate and improve the existence and impact of the Advisory Council. However, despite our concerted efforts, there has been a distinct lack of progress. Over the past year, members have completed their terms without seeking reappointment or resigned. By the end of the most recent meeting, 3 members remained and expressed reluctance at completing appointment terms under the current circumstances. The composition of the Advisory Council is not in compliance with the Wenatchee City Code, as it consists of an inadequate number of members and lacks proportionate representation of the demographics of the Wenatchee Valley. Therefore, future meetings will not be conducted. Members of the Advisory Council joined in an effort to use our privilege to serve with our community, especially those who are marginalized and too often oppressed. Throughout our time as volunteers, we have attempted to stay informed about the decisions that impact our community with an intentional focus on historically marginalized and vulnerable populations in the Wenatchee Valley. We lack timely knowledge of relevant deliberations and decisions made by the city, hindering our ability to adequately meet our charge as advisors. Through the shared wisdom and efforts of the members, we recognized and proposed the need for a full-time staff person with the capacity to not only serve as a link between the Wenatchee City Council and the Diversity Advisory Council, but to also support our efforts to build and maintain the momentum necessary to meaningfully address issues of inequity. This individual would certainly add value to the entire system, and we were severely disappointed the city of Wenatchee could not justify this funding. We continue to express concern about the lack of communication and relationship between the City Council and the Advisory Council. We struggle to understand the City Council's vision, purpose, and commitment to the Advisory Council and its mission. We were excited that on April 27, 2017, at the drafting and encouragement of the Diversity Advisory Council, the City Council passed a resolution declaring that the City of Wenatchee is committed to being a welcoming city and creating a community where all feel welcomed, safe, and able to fully participate in and contribute to our city's economic and social life. However, crucial decisions have been made without utilizing the knowledge and expertise of the Advisory Council. For example, City Hall relocating and sharing structural space with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement contradicts and neglects the city's welcoming resolution. For this reason and others, the welcoming resolution appears to be little more than a token concession rather than representing shared values as a true call to action. We urge City Council to embrace this opportunity to reflect, reevaluate, and re-engage with its diverse constituency and champion an intentional effort to minimize the disparities suffered by our fellow community members. We look forward to City Council sharing their commitment to developing processes and policies that support an equitable, diverse, and inclusive city, a dedicated staff person, and an advisory council reflecting the broad diversity of the Wenatchee Valley are of paramount importance. Together and individually, we will continue our commitment to support our most marginalized, vulnerable, and overlooked populations through our advocacy, philanthropy, education, volunteerism, and beyond. We offer access to our insight, resources, and tools that will be beneficial on this critical journey towards healing and becoming a truly inclusive community. And sincerely, former City of Wenatchee Advisory Council on Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Carrie Gavin, Chair, Vanessa Gutierrez, Aaron McCool, Charity Bergman, Pat Whitfield, Aaron Tofty-Nordvik, and Emily Gill.
So thank you, ladies, for reading that and for sending it to us. I'll say just a couple of things. First of all, thank you for sitting on the Diversity Council and your time and commitment to our city. I really think that at some point, and we've had some kind of discussions off the cuff about trying to make some sort of a regional approach to diversity. We tend to take the lead a lot of times on issues, and sometimes the other governments will come with us, and sometimes they won't. This is one that they chose not to 15 years ago and really haven't participated fully. So it is my job and that of the council, but mostly me, is to engage the county commissioners from both counties and the mayor of East Wenatchee and try to find some sort of regional method for doing so. I look at your work over the last, was it 15 years or so? And the things that we've accomplished in terms of helping with diversity, I look at that bag as being way more full than empty in terms of council districts and the works we've done in South Wenatchee on sidewalks, and we're getting ready to do Met Hall Park, and the stuff that happens on Martin Luther King Day, which is one of the most diverse places I've ever been, other than the Tree Fruit Research Center, which is also one of the diverse places I've ever been. And I tend to think that we've done a lot of good, and I know in this time of sort of turmoil internationally and with immigration issues and all of that, a lot of stuff has sort of risen up, and I get that. I'm really focused on the things that we've done well, and you have my personal word on it that I will work on trying to get the other governments around some sort of process that works, a diversity council that's regional, and if it needs to have funding to make it do its job, to get us funding to do its job. I have felt this is just one time when we have done, I think, all that we are capable of doing as a city by itself, and it's time for the region to come up and help us. So my goal is for the rest of this year is to make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Council members, anything you want to add?
I would add that, the city also has made an effort, and very successfully, in hiring a bilingual public information officer and trying to get the entire city to be bilingual. We're working on a sister city program potentially too. So I think the city's doing well. I mean, can we do everything all at once? I don't think we can, but we're working on it. Slow and steady builds better friendships, I think.
Council members, anything else to add? All right, thanks, ladies. Appreciate you being here. Anybody else wish to address the council on anything that's not on today's agenda? See no other takers. Our first item today is a presentation regarding National Service Recognition Day proclamation. Who has that, or do we have something to read into the record? Oh, Mark does. All right, Councilmember Kulas.
Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and whereas the nation's elected leaders are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet their needs, and whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants address the most pressing challenges facing our communities, they educate students for 21st century jobs, fight the opioid epidemic, respond to natural disasters, and support veterans and military families. And whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas AmeriCorps and the Senior Corps participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being. And whereas national service participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve, both through their direct service and managing millions of additional volunteers. And whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars. And whereas national service participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. And whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with local leaders nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National League of Cities, the National Association of Counties, Cities of Service, and local leaders across the country for National Service Recognition Day on April 2, 2019. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor of the City of Wenatchee, do hereby proclaim April 2, 2019 as National Service Recognition Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our community, to thank those who serve, and find ways to give back to their communities. In witness whereof, I hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Wenatchee to be affixed on this 28th day of March, 2019. Mayor Frank J. Kuntz.
Thank you, Councilmember Kulas. Do we have someone from the AmeriCorps here? Alan Walker. Oh, Alan's here. Hi, Alan. There you are. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Good. Warm. I forgot my coat.
Yeah, you guys got the heat on.
Well, we can't afford air conditioning. We're a tough city.
Thank you very much, we
Thank
appreciate it. We have 16 members.
Yeah, give us an update.
Sure, we have 16 members serving here in Chelan, Douglas, and Okanagan County, currently with the AmeriCorps program. The list that would Mark led off, areas of service, are all included within those 16 members. And we continue to recruit. We're hoping to fill about 25 members next year, which will start in September. So that's a little bit of an update there, but vital contribution to our area, to our communities, and the age ranges that we have right now from about 23 years old up to close to 60. Okay. So you don't have to be 18, 20, 22-year-old to be an AmeriCorps member. So it's for all ages and all throughout our community here. So the RSVP program, briefly, we currently have about 500 seniors volunteering through the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and that's through a 6-county area. So our RSVP program that we administer through the Community Action Council covers 6 counties here in North Central Washington. So lots of volunteers out there in the community. So thank you very much for recognizing that.
Appreciate you being here.
You bet.
All right, so seeing how we've missed a couple of meetings this year, we've got a couple of work session items to kick out. So the first is regarding security cameras, then we'll have a Met Howe Park update, and then a cemetery work plan. So David and Charlotte, tell us about security cameras.
Thank you, sir.
So last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Dave Erickson, Parks and Recreation Director. So if you could turn to page 3 of that handout I just gave you. Last year, we had some issues up at Skyline Drive, and so we made the decision to install security cameras. Council asked us to come back in about 90 days after they were installed to see what the results were. I think pretty positive results so far. So you can see the bar graph on the bottom. The last 3 years, calls for service from that area have dropped pretty significantly. So that's, I think, a good thing. The picture there is from, I think, within about 10 minutes of the cameras going live, the first arrest up there. And so we did the calls for service is for the exact same time period over the 3 years. So at the time, I think this was originally scheduled to come before you in January, so that's why the stats stopped kind of in January there. And really, that's all I have on this. The other one you hear on the work plan is we have another camera going in at Pioneer Park. That was in the budget this year, and I know the electrician for the city picked up the camera. It's sitting in my office, and he picked it up last week, so that should be going up fairly soon. And then we have another one for Kiwanis Medhow Park after that construction is completed.
Thank you. Seems like a really good use of funds. I walk that area regularly, and it's just night and day different in terms of the cars, the mess, the use. It's really been remarkable. So, yeah, I'm all in favor of keeping these going.
Pay for itself in the long run.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
Okay, and then Charlotte Mitchell is going to give you an update on Kiwanis Medhow Park.
Okay. Are we going to get anybody else up here to talk about Kiwanis? I saw Carrie in the back. Anybody else want to come up? Come on, Carrie, come on up. Okay.
How are you? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you read
Thank you
the
very
story
much.
on the front of that newsletter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great picture of Teresa.
So if you look at the first handout I gave you, that has the budget and the schedule information on it. Good news in the schedule department, we put the project out to add last Thursday, March 21st. The bid opening will be Thursday, April 18th. I looked at our list of plan holders, and it looks like we've got like 5 prime contractors that are listed as plan holders and several plan centers. So that is looking hopeful. The budget is also shown on that sheet, and of course that is dependent on our bid opening results. Yeah, so I guess that is what I had for an update. If you had any questions, Carrie is probably the best person to ask.
Are we feeling confident that our bids will come in close to our estimates?
We could both. You know what, anyway,
$1 million question,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
How about this? Were they structured with some, so that there's some alternates that we can at least,
Yeah, we do have a couple
if we
alternates.
get close to our target, we can get
Okay.
some things done?
So if it comes in high, there's some room to cut things that, like the alley
No,
improvements.
delay things. Just postpone, we not.
Temporarily postpone them
Yeah.
in the form of not constructing them with this
Yeah.
current project.
Good.
And we did conduct a third-party cost estimate at the end of construction documentation, just to make sure, given the current bidding environment, that we were confident in our costing for the project, and that came in just at or slightly under our operating budget. So
Excellent. Excellent.
a lot depends on timings, but I think from that perspective, we're confident.
Okay. And can you just quickly go over those 5 or 6 sort of major components, just so I can refresh, because there's a picture I'm looking at. So I see
Yeah.
a kiosk going in it, and there's the soccer field, and so help me out quickly with all those.
Yeah, so there's if you start in the bottom left corner of that is, that's the existing playground. There'll be a couple things moved and a shade structure put over it. And then the top left is the existing wading pool, which will stay, but then there's going to be restrooms put in next to it. And then as you head east or right, there's a community garden there. And then in the center is the kiosko structure.
Okay.
And then there's sort of a plaza area just above that. And then to the east of that is the soccer field with turf. And then there's a basketball court in the bottom right corner or southeast corner.
Okay.
So this park has a lot packed into it.
Yeah.
And this playground design also doubles the amount of playground there, so it's the existing playground plus some more.
I will add that I was recently in Cancun and went to Playa del Carmen, and our kiosco is going to look similar to theirs. And in fact, they even had the ramp. Remember, we were like, well, we have to have a ramp here because of ADA. They there had the ramp going to, and it looks pretty cool.
And a couple other items, just we did receive a $100,000 grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. So there are quite a number of really special items that have been designed in partnership with the Parque Padrinos. And maybe if all the Parque Padrinos can just stand up so we know who all is here.
Hey.
So there are a number of items like the fence, the kiosco, some art, and some of the seating that will be installed in Mosaic that is going to make the park really custom and hopefully feel like home for a lot of the people who live nearby.
Good. Well, we are excited to get the bid results back. We've been talking quite a bit as the council off and on over the last month or two, and we're just excited to see what the bid results are, and we're excited to build it the way the community needs to have it built. So we're anxious for April 18th, and we're anxious to get this thing started and try to get this thing finished before the end of the year. Is that what I'm hearing?
We're shooting for Day of the Dead opening celebration, so the first week of November.
Oh, yeah.
What's the Day of the Dead?
It's a Mexican.
Oh, it's a Mexican. It is? Okay.
I think
I
he's
thought it was
being,
Halloween, wasn't
he's
it?
being
I'm not going to show up.
Oh, okay.
And we
There's
also,
a movie you need to watch.
Okay.
It'll explain it all.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
the Padronitos shared with you a campaign update.
Yes.
That will be going out to supporters. We still have an active public fundraising campaign that you can feel free to share with your friends and family. You continue to raise private funds for the project to help close the gap.
Carrie, would you also, so there's, the Parque Padrinos were developed during this process and the idea of caretakers of the park, and thank you to Teresa and her mom. And everyone for doing that, and they continue to look for capacity building funds and continue to organize, and had how many go to Latino Legislative Day?
We went 48 people, 48.
Wow.
And we joined together with another bus from Wenatchee that was about 9.
Good job. Good for you.
For many of them, it was the first time in the Capitol.
Yeah.
For many of us, like me, it's the first time here.
Well, Teresa, thanks for being here. Thanks for helping organize. Again, we're super stoked to get this done, and November 1st is going to be a big day.
It's going to be a great day.
Yeah.
So I think I got Flywheel the same day, but I want to come for bid openings. So make sure I know when that is, and I'll come up and we'll
10 a.m.
We'll
You're doing
celebrate.
it at the PSC?
Yeah, we'll be at the Public Services
Okay.
Center.
just remind me and I'll come out and watch.
And I just want to say thank you to the mayor, the council, and especially to Charlotte and Dave for all of the work behind the scenes over the last couple months to get the bid documents out. It's been an amazing partnership, and we're continuously grateful.
Great. Well, Carrie, thank you for your work in the Trust for Public Lands, and let's just get this thing built. We're ready. All right. Thanks, both of you. Thanks, everyone, for showing up. Thank you.
Good turn.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. All right, David, work plan.
Okay.
Wait a second where they sort of work their way out.
I know how to clear a room.
Yes. Ruth asked, does that include our contribution or not? And so our contribution will be the 432 if it comes in according to
Right.
plan. So that's, I don't want to announce that yet. I want to announce that after we get, yeah. All right, David, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in your handout, we have a kind of a projected work plan for this upcoming year.
That was a multi document.
Yeah, it was a couple of things. So I thought I'd just hit some of the highlights as we go through it. And if you have any questions, let me know. Under administrative, I have this broken down by kind of functional area of our department. So administrative, of course, going through a lot of departmental transition items right now. We picked up park maintenance, community center, all that. So we're getting going and just making sure everything's working there. We've had several staff recruitments that we've been working on here lately. Hopefully we'll be wrapped up soon. Under arts, you can see the big hole outside of City Hall when you walk in, we're moving, on Monday, actually moving the sculpture that's in front of the old City Hall will be moved over here. And so that'll be in that hole out front, so you'll see that. Art collection will be doing the appraisal on the artwork that we acquired from Art on the Avenues. We'll be doing that appraisal here next month. Of course, cleaning all the artwork and all that good stuff. On the cemetery, we're currently doing the engineering for the expansion project to do the road. So if you're driving down Western toward the cemetery, the first gate, it's kind of got a crushed rock road there. That'll be paved and go back around to the side. And that whole area then will be opened up for burials. Let's see, code update will be coming to you guys. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, you're still in the cemetery. Go ahead and finish your stuff, and then I'll ask you a question.
Okay. Code update will be coming to you guys April 11th. Strategic plan, we're working on that. So that's talking about green burials and those types of things will be incorporated in that strategic plan. Hoping to have that first draft off to the commission in May. The old office, Public Works, is working to remove that. There's some asbestos in it, so they're having to abate that to get the old office out. And then we have a little bit of cleanup work to do on the new office. You have something?
Well, as related to that, I want to make sure that that gets out of there and that it gets properly disposed of and not end up in another location used for another purpose because of its age.
Yes.
And I really would hope that we could get the parking lot paved this year.
It's in the plan.
For folks that are going out to the new office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're hoping to pave it at the same time we pave the road, get some efficiencies that way. And that office, Aaron is coordinating that with Public Works. Even just a couple of months, maybe that was closed up, really, you don't want to go in the building, but there's asbestos in the roofing and the tiles and I think around the windows. So they have to abate that first and then it'll go off
Yeah, I
to
think that was put in there
disposed of.
early 1980s, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question. Somewhat related to that. There was, well, I understand that there's still somewhat of, I wouldn't call it active, but there is tree removal, problem tree removal that we're doing because we don't want to create more demand for plots based on our trees. There was a plan done, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago by, I think one of the, I don't think it was Wilbert, but someone, and that was the first look into more, accommodating more niches, basically, including interior niches like the glass ones that are in the mausoleum that are pretty high demand item.
Yeah.
Will we ever see something that we're building, I don't know, probably not adding on to the existing mausoleum, but another standalone structure that might have interior similar glass niches and I'm not talking full vaults. I think that ship has kind of sailed, I think, in terms of cost.
Yeah, I think that's a opportunity. We've also looked at expanding kind of the wall up by the mausoleum, bringing that down to accommodate more there. And then the space kind of behind the office, there's that, I don't know, off to the right, kind of that area up over in there, where it's currently kind of unplotted at this point.
Yeah, and I remember we had quite a plan for a scattering garden up by the niche wall.
Yes.
In there, but we haven't really moved forward with anything for scattering, have we?
No, in fact, we developed the code language for that, and when we were going through the code section, so we have it set aside for when we actually have a scattering garden, and we've incorporated that into the kind of the capital plan section of the strategic plan. So that way then we can try to get it budgeted and get it built. And that scattering garden actually contained a memorial walk as well as additional niche spaces along the way to try to maximize that space. Community center, community garden is nearly full. We're administering that. One-time rentals, weekends, we're just about full now, all the way through about mid-July at this point. License agreements are ongoing and still working on a lot of transitional items there. As far as parks go, Hale Park Phase 2, so the skate park design is done. We're working on the construction documents on that. Hopefully getting that under construction mid-May and completion about the time school gets out, if we're lucky. And then after that is constructed, then we will be doing the final engineering for the rest of Phase 2 and get that constructed and out to bid either at the end of this year or early next year. Finish out that park. Kenzie's Landing project, we have the phase 1 environmental analysis, cultural resources assessment underway right now. So you'll see some folks up doing sampling, soil sampling and stuff like that in the next couple of weeks. Kind of the long-term project on this, we would do the acquisition this year, assuming the state passes their capital budget and we get that $1 million grant. Acquisition this year, engineering end of the year into next year, and then construction probably 2021 on that project. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that has to happen on these. Rotary Park, they're working on Rotary's working on wrapping up the shelter up there. We have a splash pad repair to do, and those parts I talked to the supplier today, and they should be shipped anytime. Day Drive Trailhead Finance Committee today, we just got approval to basically flip the gate. The gate's been broken since last fall. People keep running into it about 4 or 5 times a year. So we're going to put it on the other side, so the hinge side of the gate is on the inside portion of the curve rather than the outside portion of the curve. Hopefully that helps cut down the amount of people crashing into it. Saddle Rock remediation, you'll see some ATVs up on Saddle Rock April 8th, starting the sampling. We've got the sampling and analysis plan taken care of, the preliminary engineering, with hopeful construction coming this August into September. Park surveys, you'll see survey folks from Erlinson out at Chase, Washington, the Okanagan Park site, Memorial Park, and Kenzie's Landing and Lincoln this fall, as soon as those grants come in, getting ready for construction. Let's see, Menahow Park we already talked about. You'll see some work out at Lions Locomotive Park with a new sign and planter around. We're partnering with, we hope, some Eagle Scouts as well as the Lions Club to do that work. Mentioned the Pioneer cameras already. Lincoln Park, if the state passes their budget, we have about $1.3 million in grant money that we're successful on that would be coming to the city pending council award also. And then we would do the surveying this year, engineering next year, construction the following year for Lincoln Park for all those improvements there. Fifth Street Median, we're working on a new landscape plan for that section that got taken out by the drunk driver, or drivers, I should say, last year. A lot of routine daily maintenance stuff. Snow plow removal was crazy this year, so that's going to really impact the maintenance budget. Cemetery operations, so far, since I've been looking at it, we're averaging about 5 funerals a week up there, seems like. Recreation side of things, pool operations, so we'll be doing that. And then you have the whole list of all the programs that we offer throughout the year. And that's everything from getting donations to doing all the promotion, coordinating the program, scheduling, staffing, all that good stuff, registering people. And really that's kind of in a nutshell what we're doing this year. Of course, there's always stuff that comes up that we address as it goes along.
Couple of questions, Dave. You mentioned your renting out at the community center is going well. I was curious if the software that we got for park shelter rentals, was that able to accommodate that, or did you have to do something different software-wise for the community center?
It could accommodate it. We haven't programmed it in. The bulk of the rentals that we're getting down there are non-English speaking folks and tend to come in and pay in cash. And so it's just, at this point, with the transition from community action to us, where they've rented it for a number of months ahead of time, right. We're just starting, it could be a year and a half, so let's just, rather than spending several days kind of programming it, let's just keep going as we are, because it seems to be working right now.
But eventually you might get there just for efficiency and...
Yeah, we could. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely could accommodate it.
Okay, and then you mentioned parks, and do you have any idea when we're going to open restrooms in our parks this year?
Yeah, the guys were out turning water on today and yesterday, and Lincoln Park restrooms had to be repaired because they got vandalized pretty extensively last fall, right before we shut them down. I know they turned the water on the drinking fountains. It was either yesterday or today at Hale and at Saddle Rock, so it should be very soon.
I would like to suggest again that when our bathrooms are closed in our parks, there should be some kind of sign in the parking lot. There's nothing more
Yeah.
They're running across the park to get to it.
Sympathy to see someone run across the parking lot and
Wait to find
the
me
panic
clothes.
look on their face when they get there and the doors are still locked. So,
We can make that happen.
I think that would be a
Personal
good thing.
observation.
Yes.
50-year-old men are really pathetic. We don't run anymore, though. We just sort of, we limp across.
Just give up halfway across.
All right, any other questions for David? I know that he and Charlotte are super busy, excited for Kenzie's Landing and Meadow Park and Lincoln Park, and you guys got lots of stuff going on, so. Yeah. And thanks for taking on park maintenance as well.
You bet.
All right,
Thanks.
you bet.
Thank you.
All right, we got a few action items today. The first is regarding a multifamily housing property tax exemption on 1688 Stella. Brooklyn, you got that one, huh?
I do. Brooklyn Holton Housing and Community Planner. So this is for Resolution 2019-13, and this authorizes the Community Development Director to sign a conditional contract with for the Brookstone Apartments, and this allows them a 3-year window to complete their project, and upon certification of completion, they can then do a formal request and get their tax exemption process started. So this is the
So
requirement.
can you just briefly help me with the process? So they have
Yes.
to say, yes, we want to do it, and then they have to
Yep.
get through some stuff.
Yeah,
If
so
they
they-
get through the hoops, then they get 10 years of about half property tax.
So this will be an 8-year full exemption.
Okay, but 8 years of no
Excluding the
property
land,
Okay.
excluding the value of the land.
Okay.
So it's just based on the improvement. And so they put in an application, and it kind of just goes through and asks, are you doing any affordable housing, yes or no? Because that changes the length of years you're qualified for exemption. And then identifying, what their intention is, how many units, this one will be 65. Is it going to be market rate? When are they planning to complete it?
Got it.
And so they are actually going to be trying to phase in some rentals. So they're trying to rent it now. They want some rentals to be ready by the beginning of April. They won't be able to qualify for exemption status until they have fully completed all
Got
of
it.
their units and gotten that final certificate. And then from there, for the following 8 years, they will have an exemption with an annual certification for the properties that we send in to the state.
So this is that process working well where all multifamily now are allowed the property tax exemption. And we're going to
Yeah,
do that
but-
for a while until we feel like we've got our
Yep.
lease rates in the right, not the rates, but the
Rental.
vacancy rates at the
Yeah.
right spots. Yeah.
And so with the 8-year, they don't have an affordable housing requirement, but if they want to request for a 12-year exemption, which is, we actually have an application from Catholic Charities to do that for their development, that does have an affordable housing requirement on it.
And what are the requirements to meet the affordable housing?
A multifamily complex, so it has to be over 4 units. So really any size that has an improvement, you can, and the application has different sections based on new construction or improvement to construction to create additional units. As long as it's 4 additional units, they can qualify for the 8-year.
But for the 12-year, they need to rent some of it 115% of AMI or some such thing.
Yeah, they have to have
That's the
affordable
portion I
units.
was kind of
Yeah,
curious.
that's the one
Yep,
between 8
that's
and
the
12.
one.
Okay.
If you
Yeah,
wanna
and
do a
that is the one
12-year,
where
then-
you do rental checks and income checks for that 12 years.
Okay.
If they do affordable housing, yeah. So
So it's
Catholic
just-
Charities
It's
will
just
fall
more
into
work
that.
on their part for the duration.
Yes.
Yep, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any questions for Brooklyn? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
All right, I make a motion for the city council to approve resolution number 2019-13, authorizing the execution of a multifamily housing limited property tax exemption agreement.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Markart to adopt Resolution 2019-13, authorizing the execution of a multifamily housing limited property tax exemption agreement. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Brooklyn. Historical register for 30 South Wenatchee Avenue. Stephen, how are you, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So the Rory Turner, representing the Wenatchee Downtown Investments LLC, which own the Seattle First National Bank on the corner of Orondo and Wenatchee Avenue, submitted an application to the Historic Board to list the 1955 bank building as well as the 1975 drive-through building to the local register. Through the hearings of the Wenatchee Historic Preservation Board held a public hearing, and at that hearing, their recommendation to you is to include the 1955 structure on the register, but not to include the 1975 drive-through building. The Historic Board couldn't find that there was that it met all of the criteria to be listed, and Rory Turner at the hearing also asked that it not be considered for nomination at this point. So before you is a resolution that would accept the recommendation of the Historic Board to include the 1955 Seattle First National Bank building on the register, the local register. It's within the national district, the National Downtown District, and is recognized as the bookend structure. So the period of significance ended with the 1955 Seafirst Bank construction. So it does represent the mid-century modern and the criteria there. So the Historic Board has sent to you a favorable recommendation for that structure only, and we've drafted a resolution that would carry that out.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2019-14, adding 30 South Wenatchee Avenue to the Wenatchee Register of Historic Places.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Esparza to approve Resolution 2019-14, adding 30 South Wenatchee Avenue to the Wenatchee Register of Historic Places. Any discussion? Questions for Stephen?
Well, Your Honor, I did struggle with this a little bit for two reasons. The first, somewhat lighthearted, is a building constructed the same year I was born going to the Historic Register kind of troubled me a little bit. And I agree with our board's recommendation to not include the drive-through. I just in going through our criteria, and I just didn't find much of historical significance about it, as much as the building that it actually replaced many years ago.
Right. That would be an oddity to have on the register, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It is an interesting looking building though. I do find it. I think someone made the comment sort of Seattle Center sort of, architecture, and I sort of agree with it.
Yeah, considering that time it was built. And do we know, is the art still in the building that was done by Chet Andreezy, I think, did the interior art? I don't think it was Walter Graham stuff. I think it was, anyway, never mind. Yep.
We have the art from the other building, the one that was on 9th Street. So that came to our collection, and it's boxed up and protected. It could be reassembled. And it was more of the mosaic. I think it was Walter Graham mosaic.
Yeah, and I thought that it was Chet Andreezy that did a lot of the artwork for the Seafirst building. But I could be wrong.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
Laverne annexation. Brooklyn, you're back. Don't go very far.
We're just annexation.
We have fun.
Brooklyn Housing and Community Planner. I might need Steve's help on how we're doing this and Gwen's. So this annexation is the first one that is going through with the Boundary Review Board. And so the process is a little different than we have done with any previous annexation. And so today we are looking to approve the draft resolution to make it a final, and also hold a public hearing for any comments on the draft resolution 2019-11. The 60% petition was confirmed by both the state and the county. And then, so the next process, or the next step, is to inform the county of intent to annex, provide them with their minimum 45 days, up to 120 days to comment or make any suggestions regarding this annexation. And then from there, go to that 60% ordinance meeting that we normally would be setting at this time. So this is a little bit different in that we have the public hearing today with a non-final resolution in front of you guys. Missing anything?
How many are on the books right now? How many do we have
A lot.
I
going?
think we have like 6 or 7 right now. Yeah, it's like my whole desk. So do the public hearing.
Okay.
Do that.
So this will be a new process for us as we
Yeah.
sort of work through it. Okay.
So public hearing on resolution 2019-11.
So this is for notice of intent and then setting a public hearing date?
Which is today.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Wow.
Can we set a date on
We
that?
did a notice, so we published a notice that there would be a public hearing today to review a draft resolution.
okay.
And that was published
Okay.
last week.
Hmm.
So we're,
Interesting.
So if it's a public hearing, don't we?
Yes, well, I'll ask the public if they want to comment here in a minute. I'm just sort of waiting for Brooklyn to finish up.
Oh,
Okay.
so this annexation is for Laverne, and they're on the corner of McKittrick and Pershing Street, so just down the road from the Public Services Center. And it is just their property. I don't know if you remember in the 10%, there were some properties adjacent to it that had some contracts that we looked into, and the neighbors were not interested in either joining nor signing on to the petition, despite that previous. And the process of taking them either to court or trying to enforce that contract was counterproductive in terms of financial and resources that would be given to that. So we just stuck with the Laverne application and that property, and so that's the one that's included here.
And similar to what we've done before, we're not proposing to take any of the right-of-way of Pershing Street
Correct. Yep,
at this time.
correct. Yeah, engineering didn't want to take just a part
Right.
right in front of the home. Yeah, they'd like to do a whole block if we're going to be taking right away.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have to take the full width of the right-of-way, but it'd
Right.
just be for one lot length.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you
The street island.
guys have any questions for Brooklyn, if not, I would open up a public hearing, see if any member of the public would like to address the council on the Laverne annexation. Seeing no takers, I'll turn over to the council for any action they may be willing to take.
Your Honor, I will make a motion for City Council to approve resolution number 2019-11, providing for notice of intention to annex the unincorporated area located on the southeast corner of the intersection at McKittrick Street and Pershing Street, also known as Laverne annexation.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Esparza, second by Councilmember Harold, to adopt Resolution 2019-11, providing for notice of intent to annex unincorporated area on the southeast corner of the intersection at McKittrick and Pershing, also known as the Laverne annexation. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Brooklyn. Lodging tax, Allison.
Your Honor, I will recuse myself on this
Okay.
item. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Allison Williams, Executive Services Director. You have before you Resolution 2019-15, which would provide for the appointment of Miguel Cuevas of Spring Hill Suites to position number 8 on the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. His application was provided for the joint meeting of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and Tourism Promotion Area that occurred on March 20th. And the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee forwarded a recommendation for his appointment to a new 2-year term ending December 31st, 2020. So we would ask for your support.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2019-15, appointing a member to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for a 2-year term.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Markart, to adopt Resolution 2019-15, appointing a member of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for a 2-year term, that being Miguel Cuevas. Discussion?
I have a question. Is this the same gentleman who's been to the TPA meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Allison. Jacob, a little budget authorization and some iron adjustments. Maybe we're lifting weights together. I don't know what that is.
These ones would be pretty heavy weights.
Okay.
Okay, Jacob Heiler, Engineering Services Manager. We came to you in January for a work session to discuss pavement management. I won't bore you with too many of the details behind where we're at in developing that, but as you know, we're coming forward with the chip seal project this year, and we're also setting our sights towards the 2020 project. Our pavement management system recommends a variety of different treatments, so chip seal and overlay. In order to gain some efficiencies, what we're looking at for our 2020 project is a large residential overlay program. The program, the way that it is programmed, it called for a $5.1 million project. In discussions with our finance department, it looks like 4.7 is what we're comfortable spending at this point. And so what I'm here today to ask for is budget authorization to move forward with hiring, or budget authorization for this year, so that we can move forward with hiring a design consultant to get our designs progressed to a point where we feel comfortable with getting a project out next year. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. There's a variety of different things in your packet. One is our proposed budget. There's also a PowerPoint slide of what we showed during our work session back in January. And as I mentioned, that slide shows both our 2020 and 2021, what the program calls for. What we'd be looking at for a 2020 project is everything in green shown on both pieces, both maps being done as part of our 2020 project.
So as Jacob explained to us at Finance Committee, he says when you do these overlays, there's more engineering involved, there's sidewalk issues, you got to determine whether the pavement is worth saving, and so they've got a lot of sort of work they need to do in advance of issuing a contract, so they want to do that work in 2019 so that they're ready to pave in 2020. They're asking for some of the 4.7 million we've set aside to spend this year so that they're ready to go in 2020. And this is consistent with what we talked about in January in terms of the dollar amounts and sort of the streets. And going to be a lot of paving this year and a lot of paving next year.
Just one comment. You're just going to be very, very busy.
Yes. But that's okay. We're making a lot of improvements, so we're proud of what we're doing.
It's great.
So I would entertain a motion if we had one.
Your Honor, I will move for City Council to approve the proposed budget for City Project Number 1913.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harrell, second by Councilmember Huffaker to approve the proposed budget for the City Project 1913. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jacob. What are iron adjustments? Help me out.
Yep. So as part
I know
of,
what this is when you move this stuff up and down. I got it.
you got it right. Pretty simple.
The ribbons.
Yeah.
So in preparation for our 2019 chip seal project, last year, as you saw, our street maintenance crew went out and did a whole bunch of skin patching throughout the city. Due to the amount of work they did, unfortunately, we paved over and were not able to adjust back up to grade many of our manhole rings and covers, valve cases, and then monument cases as well.
with the long snow year this year, and then them jumping back into sweeping, striping, and so forth. Our maintenance crew doesn't have the capacity to take on this work at this point in time. So what we are asking to do, well, we came to you back in January, beginning of January, with a concept to put out a small works contract for hiring a contractor to come in and take care of that work. We advertised the project and then received 4 bids. The low bid was from Road Products Incorporated out of Spokane Valley. They came in with a bid of $148,892.82, which is about 5.4% over our budget. But at this point.
Over or under?
Over.
Oh, budget, not the engineers, that's, sorry.
Yeah. So at this point, what we are confident that this is a reasonable bid for this type of work. So we're asking for authorization to award the contract.
You're going to plan on doing this work soon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Have we had experience with them before?
We have not worked with these folks before.
Means Jacob will be out with a whip. He'll be out there with the whip, making sure they get it done, yeah. All right, I would entertain a motion if we had one.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to award the construction contract for the Iron Adjustments Project number SW18-11 to Road Products Incorporated in the amount of $148,892.82 and authorize the mayor to sign the construction contract documents.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Markart, to award the construction contract for the Iron Adjustments Project number SW18-11 to Road Products, Inc. in the amount of $148,892.82 and authorize the mayor to sign the construction contract documents. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. Mayor's report. So I think a couple of items. So, and Mark, you'll have to help me with this. The Lodging Tax Committee met last week or this week to talk about conducting a study regarding the convention center, its use, potential new use with new hotels around, and sort of what opportunities we might be missing. They recommended, I think, a $30,000 study or something such like that. Finance Committee did hear that today and approved it, so I think it's well within our scope to just go ahead and move forward with that. So we just wanted you guys to know. It doesn't mean that we're building a new convention center. We're at the first phase is to sort of figure out what opportunities we're missing. If that seems to work, the second phase would be some sort of preliminary sort of what do you think it would look like. And
Right. We find ourselves in a very competitive environment for the scale of conventions that we get in the community. The Tri-Cities expansion, Yakima. Is there somebody else that was kind of rattling after us a little bit? At any rate,
Well, Spokane.
yeah, we just want to make sure that we don't get our properties tired to the point, they become tired to the point where they're not attractive to, in that competitive market. And with the increases in the lodging capabilities, the work that the hotels are doing themselves, the upgrades that they're making, that we just felt, I hate to say that term, snooze you lose, but if it takes, what were we talking? If it takes a year to do a study, and then you have to do, if you wait a year to do the study, you're just that much farther behind.
yeah, I think the consensus was let's get the study done, get that back, and then take the next step and sort of work our way through the process and see what it, obviously with a new hotel right next door, and Linda will tell you which convention she gets and doesn't get based on size and other sorts of things. And now that you have enough hotel rooms might sort of change that dynamic. So it sounds to me like we're moving forward. I don't think we need any approval from this body other than to let you know that we're doing it. We have had a meeting with the property owner out near our public works site. Unclear that we're going to get a deal with Mr. Anderson to get the lots the same direction. We've talked a little bit internally about just going ahead and buying the property, the Brandt property, and sort of perhaps waiting or doing something else. So we'll sort of keep you posted as we work through that. The library issue, we sort of have settled on the fact that the library is going to sort of stay where the library is. They're going to remodel that space, so they'll be temporarily in the Seafirst Bank building, the one that we just put on the the local historic register. And then we're cutting a business deal with them. In theory, we own the building with them 50/50. So they've come to us and said, so your share of the asbestos rebatement and air conditioning unit is somewhere in the $550,000 to $600,000 range. I told them we weren't going to pay it. So I gave them some options. One of the options is that at the end of, which is the one I think we've accepted, which is at the end of their construction, they're going to deed the property to us. And then we are going to collect the rent and pay the maintenance. That's going to be a loser for us for 4 or 5 years. And then when we're done with that, we're going to call it even, and then they're going to get their rent payments up to fair market value, at least enough to cover the maintenance. That is sort of the thought process at this point. I'm not very excited about owning another building in our repertoire. This 50/50 thing has been okay until your partner comes and says you need to write a big check. So we are sort of working. My long-term view is I think we're going to be happy owning the building because at some point in time, if we choose to put the library in a different spot as part of downtown economic redevelopment, at least we'll have control of the building. And so that's sort of the way the deal is working. I don't know, Brad's sort of working on it with the library folks, and if they, yeah, we're just sort of working on an agreement with them, so we'll see where that goes. What else am I missing, Allison? I know there's way more stuff. I do want to mention a little bit, not all of you know this, and this is public, so I will just mention it to you because it's a public real estate listing, but Columbia Coal Store or Lineage is selling all of their downtown properties. I can get you a picture of what they are on my iPad, but it's the stuff in and around 5th and Worthen on both sides of the street there. There's a number of properties in and around the Orondo and the railroad tracks, both sides of the tracks there where Badger Mountain Brewery is, both the buildings to the left. And then heading to the south, it goes quite a while. So 13 acres, 350,000 square feet of buildings. It's listed with a Seattle real estate company. Our staff is going to tour it tomorrow with the port just to sort of get an idea of what's in there. Don't know, just wanted you to know that that's for sale. And of course, adjacent to the northern property is the PUD property, which is 7 acres, which is also going to be vacated in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. So we are sort of watching that. We don't have any sort of other than just wanted you to know that it's available, and we're sort of looking at sort of what's happening there. That's a concern to us to have a bunch of vacant property in our downtown business core, and not, again, we're just sort of looking at it.
Yeah.
I think they decided to hire makers to do the sign code update. That was today's decision from the team. So I think they'll be moving ahead with that. Allison, help me out.
We communicated a whole bunch of information from our committee meetings.
Yeah, you guys liking getting those emails on all the committee meetings? You
Yes.
get them on,
It's
yeah.
very
So if you're not on one, you get the other.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
And just watching legislative stuff, so you're getting messages about our ask on the transportation end, and of course, we're watching the housing bills that are moving through. Continued work on our city hall design process. Steve, I don't know if you want to give an update on our meeting yesterday.
We just met with the directors, and we presented on December 6th the sideboards of the schematic design. We're making some tweaks to that, and we're on full blast with the full design. The goal is August to have a final floor plan for you. When you see a final floor plan, that means that half of the design is already done. We're talking about the HVAC system, those sort of things. So, and then by, I think, December or January of next year, we'll be going to bid.
Update on Social Security?
Social Security, they've actually delayed 1 month, but we do have preliminary design for the old city hall, and we're working through that process. The new front on the old City Hall building, which I think will be very attractive.
Council members?
I was part of a group that made a presentation to the Senate Committee on housing, it's housing supply and affordability.
Okay.
And it included presentations by real estate economists from the University of Washington, FutureWise, State Commerce, and then two urban planners, one representing cities from the city of Tumwater, and then myself representing rural counties. And the focus was to be housing affordability issues and how that relates, how the Growth Management Act may or may not relate to those issues, and with a bit of a focus on homelessness, which Tumwater mostly covered that. I used for my presentation actually the core of the Housing Solutions Report from Our Valley, Our Future. And received some assistance from Steve Maher in putting that together. We had about a 2-hour time frame with the committee. It was just a workshop, wasn't any specific legislation. One of the things that I encouraged the legislators to consider, and actually, it comes something that we've talked about a little bit here, and I've talked about in my day job, and it is a recommendation in Our Valley report, and that is to extend the multifamily tax credits, which are only available to the central city and counties, to extend that to at least the urban growth area of that central city, and actually any other urban growth area that's created, so that it expands that opportunity for multifamily housing. And the last thing, also related to what I do in my day job, I'm a member of the Transportation Improvement Board, and
Yes, thank you.
and the city of Wenatchee received $700,000 in Complete Streets money for Complete Streets projects. And at some point, I'd like to hear what the projects were that you identified for the TIB staff. Because we just approved 49 projects or 49 allocations. I would say that the allocations were at the low end $100,000 and at the high end $700,000. I think there were 2 jurisdictions, including Wenatchee.
Us in Vancouver, I think, were the
Yeah,
two that
got the $700,000.
That's
And the city of East Wenatchee received $400,000.
Mayor Lacy was thrilled. He talked to me today, and he was thrilled with those 400.
Yeah, $16.9 million that were allocated in Complete Streets dollars. And just quickly, how it works is you don't submit projects.
Right.
You get nominated by either 4 public agencies or 4 nonprofits. And so you have to, what we call phone a friend.
Yeah.
And ours was, the nomination, I think it was approved, was by Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. Who else nominated us? Did anyone else?
Yeah, so we got nominated by, and DHAP is actually who did it last year, or last grant plan. And then, oh my gosh, I know the project. I think Department of Health was one of them, and then,
Feet First or the Bicycle Alliance or?
so it was a new agency this year that actually wasn't a nominating agency last year.
Okay.
And so that was a new one to us. Because of our spend down requirements, we actually missed about 4 or 5 of the agencies' nomination request deadline. And so each application that we put in, we got nominated for.
Good.
I just can't think of what that is.
And then what the Transportation Improvement Board does is it narrows it down to 1 nominator per project.
Okay.
I guess the point being that since we don't, the agencies don't apply themselves, you have to have friends that forces you to have these cooperative and to show that you're actually doing something that those entities believe is worthwhile.
Yeah.
Each agency has their own application.
Yeah.
And so you have to demonstrate what your relationship is with each of the priorities that agency has kind of a strategic plan or their current.
Let's make sure, Allison, that they email out the list of projects.
Yep.
Because there's like 7 or 8. We got them read to us today, some in South Wenatchee, some in and around schools. I think in and around the college, there was a number of projects that got funded. So we'll get you a list of what those were. So you
That's
have
really
them.
great, though.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your staff out doing work. And again, they don't give us money unless the city,
This is final.
what is it?
Gonzaga 72, Florida State 58.
All right.
Oh, my gosh.
It got close with about 3 minutes left if someone
Was watching, yeah. So anyhow, and thanks for your work on TIB for that, Mark. That was,
Did you want to say anything about the Port of Chelan County's breakfast?
yeah, we were at the port breakfast the other day. The economist for US Bank, if you haven't heard him speak, is really good and sort of made it sound like we're sort of plugging along just fine. I don't think he was as concerned or doesn't see quite the slowdown that maybe another number of folks are talking about. So, and again, I think we're, when you big picture, talk about the multifamily housing tax credit, there's a lot of apartments that are coming online here in the next little bit. And we'll sort of see how things, how our vacancy rates go. And we are having some interesting discussions with the county, regarding homeless money and that sort of, we're working through some processes there. And, but I think overall, I think things are going pretty well and there's lots of stuff going on. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Let's see, April 9th, we're having a meeting here, makers leading an effort to do its own land use designation for the college instead of the college being a residential high designation, actually having a land use designation for the college campus.
Sort of a college sub area, something.
Their own designation, their own zoning.
Okay.
That fits the needs of the campus. And then at the same time, getting opportunity for neighborhoods with that interface. For opportunity issues, amenities, putting out neighborhoods, you may hear about it. About 300 mailers, putting out 3,000 or 4,000 students to college. So we hope to get some folks here April 9th at 5:30.
The college is in my district. I'll be here.
And they've got their money, if the capital budget passes, $34 million for Wells Hall. We've been working with them on some design features and stuff, Glenn and the staff. And I think we've come to at least a pretty good agreement on, I can't even say those words, articulation and modification? Modulation, those 2 words.
The things they didn't do was
Yeah.
music and art.
Yes, yes,
They said they
exactly,
were
yeah.
going to do.
It'll be a fun exercise, have some overviews, but that's a small group session, good ideas out.
Allison, anything else? Council members? All right. Yes, Brooklyn? Yes, FutureWise. Okay, FutureWise was that one.
Tell me if I didn't find it.
All right, we're adjourned.